Welcome back to Trauma Teachers. This is Aaron.
Patrick.
As always, I think was you here? You making it?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So mistakes from. I'm putting this one up. This one will be on YouTube.
This one's going up.
All
right, let's get it.
So the mistake last time. I don't know if it was you or me. I don't remember. But one of us was like clicking a pen.
It's probably me because I'm holding the pen right now, and it's probably me going off and on with the pen cap. So
it wasn't. It was like the first 5 minutes, and if you made it through that, if people kept listening, it was good. And then like the last 2 minutes. But it's so odd because. Like, sometimes it doesn't pick up our voice that well.
Right.
But it picks up, like, moving a piece of paper. Like, I guarantee.
The tiny little noises. Yeah. So I have, I'll take that one on the chin. I've gotten rid of the pen cap.
Good.
So I've moved it away from me.
And we've both done stuff like that. Because the one, I was moving the piece of paper the whole time, and you couldn't even hear, like, anything I said. So.
Last time it was my phone vibrating.
But if you're a visual learner, you know, we're dressed to impress today.
Yeah.
No labels.
No labels.
Yeah, so that's good.
Everything's flipped on the right side.
All right, you want to start with a struggle?
Yeah, struggle. My struggle this week has been preparing for the unknown. You know, like because of our environment and where we are, you know, we're always in, you know, or at least we try to be in proactive and preventive mode. You know, and there's always that feeling of kind of, it makes you feel like there's a shoe that's going to drop, and sometimes you just don't know. And it's a little nerve-wracking because, you know, as we're getting ready to transition to sooner than later, hopefully, what our typical day looks like. You know, we're preparing for all of our students to be in our module learning units and what that's going to look like, and preparing for certain students and certain behaviors and certain things. So trying to, like I said, prepare for what could or possibly be. I think in my mind, I'm always planning for the worst and hoping for the best. I feel like it may not always be the most optimistic way to go about it, but I think, you know, with where we are here, I think it's the best way to plan.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
I was thinking today, like, I'm very excited to see everyone.
Yeah.
Like staff, but then I was also thinking about there's a lot going on a normal school day. Like
Yeah.
we have a lot of different schools, it's gonna be great to see everybody, but like for administration,
Yeah.
that's gonna be the first couple days will be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Sure.
It's so and on top of just dealing with that, sometimes as you are trying to be proactive, there's also a struggle to get everybody on the same page, without, you know, pointing fingers or, you know, playing the blame game. So trying to get out and ahead of being like, hey, you know, just trying to remember, like, whether this is the reason or that's the reason, however we may feel, like all that really matters is trying to get this X, Y, or Z from happening. That's really our main focus.
And I would imagine it's tough without the face-to-face, because like you can
Yeah.
read a text the wrong way,
Yeah.
or an email the wrong way,
come across
or
the wrong way.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Maybe you think the camera's not on. Like, God, Aaron doesn't know what he's doing. And then you hear that, you know,
Right.
it can create a lot. Our current environment can create a lot of problems.
And if I did have a tip for that, maybe definitely with the staff as you're preparing, get together, like you said, as much as you can. I mean, right now, these, you know, face to face is hard, but staying connected. And sometimes it may be more than an email. Sometimes it is a phone call. Sometimes it is you know, finding each other on Google Meets or Teams or whatever, so you can get face to face. So all that can happen, so that you are on the same page, and so that everybody is moving at the same speed. Because at the end of the day, really, that's going to help the most is if the kids are getting the same message everywhere they go. So whether that's the therapist or whether that's their team working outside of the campus, definitely with everybody who's, you know, in the school, if everybody is saying the same thing or getting the same thing from everybody, it's going to be the best thing for that kid. And I don't know if there's a real way to tip for, you know, planning for, you know, the best when it comes to kids.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. Some people haven't worked in they've been doing virtual. I'm not saying they're not working, but like 6 months off campus and then coming back. That's crazy.
It's gonna be strange.
I don't know if I know where like my clothes were.
Just have me down to that one outfit and be like, I don't know where the rest of my clothes are. But yeah, so that was my struggle this week.
So mine is, we were actually talking about this last week. This exact scenario. So a new student moved into my class. Hadn't made a lot of connections. Definitely a unique interest.
Yeah.
You know, really kind of struggling on campus to make connections. Him and I we're forming this great relationship, right? We're talking a lot, like all day, about his interests and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is going great. And today he stole a computer. So this morning I realized we were missing a computer.
Yeah.
And as you know, our kids will tell on themselves without knowing it. And I was like, if the computer doesn't show up in 10 minutes, I'm emailing the college. They're going to do room searches. And he comes up and he goes, "Oh, I accidentally like left a screwdriver in my room. I didn't mean to bring it on campus. Can I go get that so they don't take it and I don't get in trouble?" And I'm like, "He has it."
He errors the computer right now.
So I was like, when I emailed the college, said I would start with his room. Lo and behold, he had the computer.
There it is.
And so, but now I have to practice what I preach. Because last week we talked about how it's like you were saying, it's Groundhog Day.
Right.
You don't hold a grudge. So tomorrow I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm actually more, because he's not like a violent kid and he's not overly emotional. So I feel like I can talk to him about it and just be like, I'm not even that mad at you for stealing a computer. It's more that you were like trying to manipulate me. I would have much rather you just been like, I took it.
Yeah.
Right. And go from there. I mean, obviously he's going to, some type of privileges are not going to be there.
Right.
But after that, I'm going to be, look, our relationship's the same. I really enjoy having you in my class, and let's go from here.
Right.
And not steal stuff.
and like we were saying last week, I think that's the best way to go is just to be complete and upfront. Like hey, like no worries, but yes, it was the X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
And I honestly didn't say anything to him today going to the cottage because I was like, I don't want to, like in front of his peers.
Right.
But he went up, walking into the cottage, he went up to his window and was looking through it, and I was like, buddy, we have it.
Don't worry about it.
He's like, he's like, I just wanted to play games. I was like, okay, man.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so highlight of the week.
Mine was working with a particular student who is very concrete and rigid at times, a lot of times, and getting him sometimes to recognize the perspective of the world outside of his is difficult to say the least. And I've tried many occasions, you've tried many occasions and many conversations to get him to see that how his kind of behaviors, affect others and those around him, to no avail. Because it's hard for him to kind of see the reality outside of his. So trying to get him to understand that, like, hey, if you're singing in class like that out loud, almost as loud as you can, how that affects the people in your room. So in your classroom with you, and how they might want to, why they're upset at you, why they want you to leave, or why they're reacting this way or that way. And the highlight part comes because earlier this week was the first time that I was able to engage him in one of these conversations, and I can't remember for the life of me what analogy I used. It was obviously gold because it got him to stop and think. I wish I could remember now.
Yeah, that would be great, because I would love to use that same analogy with him.
Because he actually stopped and was able to hear me out and took in the perspective of like, hey, okay, if whatever shoe was on the other foot, how would that make me feel? Like, I explained to him that, like, yeah, you think that everybody, that them talking to you that way is annoying, but you singing to them is annoying, and something is annoying to everybody. So whatever might be annoying to you, imagine if they were doing it in your room, like how would that make you feel? And for the first time in all of these times, he actually was quiet enough and he took it in and was like, okay, yeah, I kind of get that, and like, and we were able to kind of move forward and kind of solution after that. Like to this point, like there's been no solution finding whatsoever. Yeah, you get to that point, you're like, all right, you can't even work on trying to find solutions. Like this time, we're actually able to be like, okay, so how now that we recognize that, what can we do? Can we go on a walk, you and I, and you're able to walk outside, and I'll play some music, and you can sing at the top of your lungs for 5 minutes. Can we do that? And so it was nice to get to that point because it's been forever.
I just keep laughing because he puts off like the Malibu's Most Wanted vibe.
Yeah.
Like he's just like if you could see this kid, he's just like in class, and like it just drives people crazy. I mean, it drives me crazy, to be honest. But like he would be probably clinically diagnosed as a narcissist, but it's so much different than like narcissists that I know, because it's not malicious.
No,
he's not really trying to gain anything through it.
Nope.
But it's like his life is like a movie, and everyone else is in a secondary role.
Right.
Like they don't really have feel like to him.
Right. There's no part. They're not playing a part. They're just extras in his video.
Exactly. And so that analogy you used must have been amazing, because I've tried. Our thing was always he would talk about fighting, and I would just be like, buddy, I don't know what you're seeing. I've seen you get in fights, and it doesn't end well. And not everyone's a fighter, and that's okay. You have a lot of strengths. And he's like, no, I'm going to go after him after school. I'm like, please don't. And I never could figure out a way to get him to realize that he's just not good at fighting, which isn't the worst.
The worst thing, and how it's probably not in his best interest to pursue that avenue of problem solving because it hasn't worked well for him.
And looking long term, when he gets out of here, he should not be fighting anyone.
Right,
it's not going to end well at all.
It's not a solution to your problems at all. But So I mean.
But that's awesome. That is a huge highlight.
I was gonna say, yeah, man. I'm gonna put that one in. It's all we always say. It's all about the small victories,
yes.
and I'm gonna tuck that one away for sure.
That's awesome. That made me, when you told me that, it made me super happy because that probably helped him. I mean, that had to feel good for him to like recognize that he's not like this
solo entity.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was trying. Entity was going around somewhere in my devolving brain. So mine is, and this is one of the positives about the current situation. There's always positives of everything, even if it's not great like this. We're not switching classes. This is a student who has been the feel good story of the week before, and just really has a hard time with academics.
Yeah.
So I never really had a good relationship with him because it was always, hey, you're a great kid, you're funny, you're smart, but you have to do some work, and then it's throw your work on the ground, or just I don't care about it. But now that I've actually, he is doing more work, and I've actually gotten to talk to him a lot, and just an awesome kid.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't really see what other people were saying, like when he's like a great, sweet, nice kid. All I ever saw was like the work refusal and kind of not wanting to interact with other people. Yeah. But if you can get him off the computer and just talk to him, he isn't like, I mean, one of my favorite kids the last couple of weeks, and now we have all these inside jokes.
I would say, he's great to talk to.
Yeah, he is.
He really is.
And he's so smart.
He's super smart. Which is the tough part because they're trying to get him to apply his intelligence to his academics.
And I know you did some work with him trying to, kind of the same thing we were just talking about, kind of like when he got here, he wasn't as, bad's the wrong word, but I can't think of a better word. Not as bad as the kid we were just talking about, but definitely like on the center.
Right. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of me. There is no outside of me. There is nothing else going on outside of other than what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he would say if he was one that stole a computer, he'd just be like, well, you shouldn't have let me take it. Like there was no like, I know all middle schoolers are selfish, but there was no like even recognition that might have hurt my feelings, or like someone's going to have to pay for that, or all that stuff.
He was definitely one of the kids that like is screaming or talking out loud, and it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing in class. This is what I want to say, and I'm going to say it right now because I want to say it right now.
Yeah. But awesome kid.
That's good. That's great to hear, man. I'm glad to hear that that's a budding relationship, because it's funny how sometimes the worst of things, our current situation being the worst of things, will bring out something super positive.
And this definitely forced me to work, because that's one of my weaknesses working here. I'm not great at like kids that I don't vibe with. Like I need to get better at that. And in this environment, you have to, because you're with the same kids all day.
Yeah.
You can't not vibe with the kid for 7 hours.
It's gonna be tough sledding.
Yeah. So awesome kid, and he's I think leaving us soon.
Yeah, I think there's plans for discharge. So.
And that's definitely one to put in your pocket, because he has improved.
Yes.
Like he's got a good kind of family setup going.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of one of those. He would be riding one of the perfect waves of like, came in, struggled, plateaued a little bit, got to a spot where he made some definite improvements, and like he's kind of riding that improvement. And so like now you just slide on out of here.
Slides back.
Right.
Up here comes in, he's not getting along with it, and then it all. Yeah.
Then next we're on the other side of the hill coming down. So like
All right, so getting to know you.
Yeah, here we are.
What was your favorite subject in school, or like say college, your favorite class?
I think on both accounts. Well, I'll say I'll go both. So I'll say English, in the fact that when I was really small, I used to just write stories. Like on long road trips and stuff like that, I would just make up stories and just write them. So I always enjoyed that part of English, not necessarily maybe all of the readings that were mandatory to read, but the creative writing part, I guess, of English, I always liked, and that transitioned all the way into college as well. And sometimes you do things and you don't realize that it's you just doing them. And because I remember one time I had to share something. They always make you share stuff when you're in college.
Yeah, you have to read it out loud.
You have to read out loud. Like
I was like, what is this?
I wrote it for the professor to read and grade. I did not know we were going to be sharing, but but I shared a couple short stories that I wrote, and to get a response that somebody they enjoyed hearing them, and so that's that part of, or that subject, or that part of school I always liked. But I always like history as well, in the sense that you can't. I'm a big believer in that, if you don't learn, things are destined to repeat themselves. So I'm not really necessarily in love with the fact of like dates and like when things happen, but I like the part of history that like that you learn from your past so you can make corrections. And actually, one of my favorite teachers or professors of all time was a history professor in junior college, and all you Ivy Leaguers out there talking down to the junior college folks. The best experience that I had before moving on to 4-year was taking this professor's class. Shout out to Professor Lopez.
I had an Ivy Leaguer who was the teacher of my creative writing class, and just I was like, what's the point? Because every story anyone would read.
Right.
This is all. It's like not everyone wants to read like Yates or whatever. Like some people want to read something that's fun. Like just every story anyone read. It's just that's terrible.
Jeez.
Like this is It's like, all right, man. What's the point? Glad you went to Yale or whatever. You're not helping me.
Right.
That's the point of this, right?
You're supposed to be making me better.
Yeah, right.
Isn't what teachers do? They teach.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but so if I had to, those were two, my best favorite subjects through my academic career.
Nice.
Patrick, do you have any goals that you are you one of those people who sets up like mini goals for themselves to kind of?
So I have started yourself? Actually recently.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So my one this year is I wanted to read 52 books.
Nice.
My birthday was July 28th. What am I like thinking? Good God. so maybe I was thinking about how long ago it was. So that's 3 months ago, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all 1 month now.
I think I've read. I think 8. So I'm 4 behind.
Nice.
But I'm in the middle of like 2 more.
Okay.
So, and it's been great.
Look at you.
No, it's been awesome, and it's strange that you just said that because the stuff I've been reading is all about like I can't get into fiction for some reason. I don't know why, but it's all about like human habits.
Yeah.
And it is like we're just repeating all this stuff that's happened in like every civilization ever.
Yeah.
Like I was watching the because I was reading this article about like they always they discovered this ancient society in the rainforest. And they like kind of always knew when a society was going downhill when the king or emperor started building like stuff for himself. And then I was watching the Rams game, and I was like, this jackass built a $5 billion stadium that he's not going to make money off, just so people will be like, he built
it.
Like that to me that's such a foreign concept.
Right.
And I definitely haven't been as successful as that guy, but like, what is that?
Right. Why is that? Yeah.
Like, do you get reassurance from the fact that every time you walk by that stadium, someone's like, that guy built it? Like, I don't even know the guy's name.
I mean, that might be the definition of narcissism.
Right.
You do something for the fact, not to create something new or to give something new to the world, but just so people can say, his name is on it.
But I guess one of the most interesting things I read was this book about like happiness and like human. Like, who knows why things make us happy?
Yeah.
But like, it was like why, and one of them was like income. And after, if you are comfortable, so like I think it was like a one child or like a married couple, like if you each made $70,000, and then with kids, it each goes to that. But if you were single, it was like $60,000. And if you make that amount of money, after that, there's no difference in happiness. However, they measured it, and this was like a massive study they did every year.
Interesting.
So there's no difference between like $1 billion, and then they did one with lawyers too, and there's no difference between like if you're a partner or if you're there's no difference in their happiness, like in all these scales, which is crazy,
right?
Because that's all anyone wants to do is stack money, like that's all social media is. Look at what I do is better than what you do. What I have is better than what you have.
Right.
And that's proven to be if why do we keep doing this?
Oh, that's surprising to hear that it was what you said 60,000.
I think for us like if people were married and had one kid, I think it was like 140,000 combined. But if you're single, it was like 65,000, enough to be comfortable. Because obviously, if you're struggling, that's a huge stress and all that.
Yeah.
But wild.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I need to make a little bit more money.
I need to start pressing for a raise.
Yeah.
I'm clearly
look.
I'm clearly unhappy.
Yeah. Do you want me to be happy? Oh, then I need to make this amount of money.
Right.
And I won't be happy till
I get there.
But I won't ask for a raise after that because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
All right, resource of the week, and so I'm also on this kick reading all these studies because after we were talking about so this one's was about eating, and I'm not going to lecture. Let's get this real quick. Basically, if you eat a Mediterranean diet, fish, nuts, berries, fruit, vegetables, your risk of depression as compared to a Western diet, which is trans fat, soda, all that stuff, is greatly diminished. And the numbers are different in every study, but like one they did a 10-year study somewhere in Europe, of course, with women, and they had a 65% lower risk of recurrent depressive symptoms.
Wow.
A Western diet versus the Mediterranean diet, and then like magnesium was huge, like which is from peanuts, almonds, spinach. Like people that are deficient in magnesium are way more likely to be depressed. And I'm not saying this to piss anybody off, but the very interesting thing I found, because a lot of our kids, their appetites through the trauma are low, and all they want to eat is like rice, right, or like they just want to eat bread, and so the highest rate of depression for any diet they studied was the vegan diet.
Jeez.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because they said and I know I'm not saying you can't be healthy and vegan. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not against vegans, because I know a lot of people do supplement and take pills and all that and figure it out.
And we're not saying vegans are depressed.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But our kids don't do that. So if a kid's just eating rice all the time and you can't get them to eat different things, like fish was huge for health and all that. So I just found it incredibly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 2, right? We could have. So we got, what do we have? Yoga. Yeah. Right. And then if we get someone in and maybe teach about health, and the kids love to cook, it's such an A to B task.
Yeah.
Make a recipe, then you get to eat it. Bam, there's your reward.
Here's a fish. Let's cook it.
Yeah. Right. Here's some loaves. Multiply them.
Let's go catch a fish.
Right.
Then you cook it.
A, B, and C.
A, B, and C.
Yeah, I don't know. Our kids might not the hooks, but
probably not a good idea.
We get like a bobber or something. I mean, they still have hooks, but I don't know. We figure something out. A net. Like back in JC's day. Yeah. I could die a happy man if I saw 2 of our kids pull a net up that was just full of fish, and then we could fry it up.
Yeah, especially your boy with his footwear selection. He's got the JC 2000s.
Yes, strange. He's just rocking Birkenstocks in the winter. But yeah. All right, so that's all I got for that stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I'll put it up on Facebook.
Shoot it up there on the Facebook. What do you know? Another connection or correlation between our population and diets and what all of that, how it does truly affect things outside of just your appetite and your nutrition. It really does affect.
The one thing I did want to say that I forgot is I'm not because I feel like anytime I say this to people, they're like, oh yeah, someone who's super depressed or has terrible anxiety, if they start eating better, they'll be fine. I'm like, no. It's a holistic,
right?
And nothing might work if you're incredibly depressed. And I'm not, but the studies show that this stuff does make improvement. I'm not saying if you're so anxious you can't go outside and you stop eating fast food, you're gonna be fine. Right. But I'm saying what should be done with kids through trauma is the holistic, trying to get exercise, eating healthy, therapy. Bruce Perry always says, an adult that cares about you, like that. You need all of it.
All of those things, which makes sense, because there should be some form of a life change coming with kids that have adverse backgrounds or challenges. There should be that kind of, or some version or some form of all of those life changes to help push through.
And we were joking about fishing, but that is just think about that. That's so relaxing. Yeah. You're producing food. I mean, I would love to see one of our kids just sit there 4 hours, man. Old man in the sea, just chilling out, listening to the waves, or if you're at a river, whatever. I mean that'd be a great habit. So
I agree. And I don't want to be one of those people, but it does. For the week or two that I might
I'm the same way.
Be on a healthier kick in life, it does affect your attitude. Again, I'm not preaching that it'll change you forever or it's going to work forever, but I can attest to the fact that I do feel better about myself if I am consistently making sure I'm paying attention to what I'm eating or working out or whatever the case may be.
And I have ulcerative colitis, and I fought it for years, trying to eat what I wanted, and I finally changed 2 years ago, and just completely changed my life.
Agreed. Acid reflux. I finally was like, you know what? All right, give me this laundry list of stuff that I can't have, and let me maneuver around trying to find a diet that works. And I agree. It's made me feel so much better.
Yeah, and I'm less anxious because all the studies about gut health. And if your stomach's all messed up, you're going to be probably more anxious. But we are not preaching. I'm not saying don't eat Chick-fil-A. Unless you have something against Chick-fil-A, then don't eat there. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm not anti-vegan. I'm not anti-anything. But just these small changes can make you feel better, especially at a time when a lot of people are struggling, stuck in the house.
There you go.
Getting Uber Eats. Mix it up.
There you go. I mean, and again, especially with the population that we're trying to help and serve here. Let's get them some fish and some almonds.
I don't want people to think I'm like throwing almonds at my kids. Tom Brady's wife. I'm not. None of that.
All right. Feel good story. Gonna talk about day school for a little bit. As you know, I've one foot in that door for our students who come here and during the day and transition back home at the end of the school day. And the virtual start for that has been rocky but solid for the most part. There's been some tough spots for some different folks, but there's also been some really shining positive moments for kids adapting to that environment and to that situation that may not have expected. It's good. It was a challenge or something new, completely new for all of our students to go from being face to face and being nothing but face to face. Really, there was no. We hadn't gotten to the point where kids had just gotten introduced to having a laptop with them and getting introduced to using that technology, but not to the point where it was all of their access to school. So the positives that we've seen with kids maintaining their schedules, those that are, and moving from class to classes and participating and finding a way to still learn and still check in has been really inspiring. And to see kids that normally have some problems academically, being in face to face and kind of navigating those situations, and also having the virtual as an alternative start has been beneficial to some too, because there are some that were very anxious about coming, whether they were transitioning from elementary to middle school, or transitioning just to us brand new, and so there's some anxiety about being here on campus that was behind it. So I think the virtual start gave some of those students an opportunity to get an introduction to staff, get an introduction to the school, just an introduction without necessarily having to be here and face all of those anxieties as well. So there's a little break in between to say, okay, well, here's introduction to academics and here's an introduction to your staff, but it wasn't full on combined with, okay, like now it's full on start,
right,
first day of school, brand new everything, all of that. So it gave them an opportunity to kind of warm up and develop, and I think that's going to shine through when we do go back to face when that happens, because they've had the opportunity to warm up and to develop the connections to academics and their staff.
And one positive I've seen, I have nothing to do with the day school, at least about society, I feel like, which is crazy to say with all the stuff you see online, people yelling at each other, but I feel like people are starting to become more aware of that this is hardest on the poorest people.
Right.
Like these people, like our students, your day school students' parents are probably at work.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to ask of a sixth grader to log into a computer, go to every class, do their work. That's a lot to ask. And I feel like I've heard people say that. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, it's been one of the if there is a major drawback, that has been one of them. For those families who are single parent families or situations, or both parents work, and trying to navigate what that looks like, and even for some of our students who are on the spectrum, trying to navigate those avenues of social interactions,
right,
via virtual has been a challenge as well. But yeah, definitely we have heard it's hard for me, and I can't,
right,
trying to find ways to help as much as we can being virtual, and trying to help make those connections for parents who are in those situations or kids who are in those particular circumstances. It's definitely been difficult.
Yeah. So you guys have a lot going on.
But the feel good part of it is that, like I said, there are successes, and
right,
it wasn't a complete blow up.
And it's cool y'all kind of have a bridge going, so when they come back,
right,
at least they'll have seen their teachers' faces,
right,
they'll have started in the curriculum.
Right. It allowed us to make certain connections. We even participated in a couple of tours for kids to get a better introduction so that they know where their classes will be and what campus looks like, and just being here, which we wouldn't have been afforded that opportunity without the virtual start, because it would have been, like I said, they would have just been coming in day one and getting out of whatever car, transportation, and right to class, and this has allowed us the opportunity to give them a chance to say hello in another way.
All right, nice. Well, we're back on our 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Let's
yeah.
see if people want to listen to them.
If we can get them to stay.
Yeah.
That extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, but that was fun, man.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Felt good.
But unless you have something else,
I'm
Patrick.
done, man.
All right. As always, I've enjoyed our conversation. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening and or watching, and look forward to you listening and or watching the next week.